Hello everyone, now we are on part 2 of our Queen's Gambit Decline Exchange Variation series. What I wanted to show again was the three major plans for White in the Queen's Gambit Declined. In my last video I showed White's probably most popular plan involving just a simple idea of playing rook b1 and the idea of playing on the queen side with b4, b5, exchanging on c6, and then piling up against the weak pawn on the open c file. So now we're moving on to the second plan that we talked about, which is this idea involving f3. So this game is from the PCA World Chess Championship in 1993, Game 15. And with the white pieces, Garry Kasparov, and with the black pieces, you had English Grandmaster Nigel Short. So the game continued here on move 6 with castle, bishop d3 from Kasparov, knight bd7, knight ge2, and remember in the last game, if you followed, the knight had simply just came out to f3, and then Sammy Reshevsky just wound up playing a basic plan in the position where he wound up playing like rook b1. Of course, c6 was played. And then he wound up playing this idea of b4, b5. Let's just make like a random type of move here. He wound up playing this plan b4, b5. And then exchanging here. Again, some randomness. And then white wind up piling up on the c pawn and eventually winning the game in brilliant positional manner. In this game, we see the knight going to g2, and that preserves the option of moving this f pawn at some point either to f3 or f4. So Nigel played rook e8 here, castles, knight f8, all typical, and here we see the plan being implemented by Kasparov, right? We see this like a similar idea. The difference between the other game is that the knight was here on f3. So here what we see, and this is the reason why I chose this particular game, is because we see a blending of plans here. At this time, 1993, there's many different ways to deal with such a direct plan for white. Okay, back in the olden days, the 20s and 30s, all right, it wasn't quite clear for black how to deal with this plan of white attacking just so brazenly on the queen side after c6 and playing b4, b5, etc., and creating the backward pawn. So here, all these years later, white will often mix ideas up and mix plans up, all right? And so we see here that Kasparov plays b4 immediately, and this is before the move c6 is even played. Okay, here Nigel played a6, so he's already anticipating this plan and he wants to deal with it straight away. Now some of you are saying, hey, why can't he just take the pawn? The idea is if bishop takes b4, then just simply bishop takes f6. Okay, g takes f6, knight takes d5, queen takes d5, and then queen a4, attacking the rook on e8 and the bishop on b4. That's black's best line, and he's already busted in this position pretty much. So Nigel just simply played a6, and now a3 by Kasparov, and now c6 by Nigel. So as you can see, it'll be kind of hard to get this moving now with the pawns on a6 and c6. After all, white would have to play a4 here in order to play b4 at some b5 at some point. But the problem is now this pawn is hanging indeed. All right, so that throws a monkey wrench in that particular plan. Of course, Kasparov knows this already, but what he does is he creates, he takes space from black on the queen side. Black always has to worry about the occupation of this square right here. Also, it's difficult for black to create counterplay on that side of the board without allowing white to implement his plan. So, for example, if somewhere down the road black plays a5 to try to attack the b pawn, he always has to consider c6 and white just continuing along with his plan. So it kind of creates a static situation on the queen side, which is good for white because white has another ace up his sleeve, which is in the form of this alternate plan that we're about to see now. So Kasparov continues with queen c2, and the plan is very simple, is to play f3, rook a d1, and then queen d2. g6, anticipating, of course, the attack on the queen side. Excuse me, on the king side. f3, and now you see the idea of not blocking the f pawn. And white's plan is quite ambitious. He wants to move in the center using his pawn preponderance. Knight e6, bishop h4, and now knight h5. Dark squared bishops come off. Now this can be dangerous for black because he's just fianchettled his position, and notice his dark squares are quite weak around his king. This explains Kasparov's next move. Is not only does it support d4 because the future advance, but it also supports the dark squares in the absence of his dark square bishop. b6, rook a d1, again supporting d4 as much as possible in order to prepare this advance. Bishop b7. There's bishop b1, so the bishop is moved out of the way again, so d4 is solidified. Knight h g7, and now e4 from Kasparov. Rook c8, and now bishop a2, putting a lot of pressure on this pawn right here, and it makes it very difficult for black to achieve his break. So rook d7. Now knight f4 forces a trade of pieces, and notice how white's queen is dominating the dark squares in absence of the dark squared bishops. So that trade of bishops benefited white more than it did black. Knight to e6, queen e5, still dominating the dark squares. And now rook e7. If d takes e4 here, trying to have a discovered attack on this d pawn, then simply bishop takes e6 works just fine. That's possible. And also knight takes e4 is very strong with the idea of playing knight f6. Alright, so d takes e4 is out of the question for black. Game continued, queen g3, queen c7, offering a trade of queens, queen h4. Now notice how Kasparov's play early in the game on the queen side of the board is totally kind of bogged black down over there, and he can't really get his counterplay in time. Meanwhile, white is building up an assault on the other side of the board. Knight g7, rook c1. Again, his tactics here. So queen d8, rook f d1, protecting the d pawn. Rook c7, knight a4, attacking the b6 pawn. D takes, finally f takes. So now white has taken on the notorious hanging pawn. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad. If they're mobile, they're good. Okay, so remember that if these pawns are mobile and can't be fixed, They're good, very dangerous attacking units or hanging pawns. You have the open files beside them, and black has to be able to blockade those pawns and fix those pawns. Unfortunately for Nigel in this position, his pieces are awkward and not coordinated. So it's hard for him to mount a successful attack against these pawns, although he tries. So queen e8 attacking the e pawn, knight c3 protecting it, rook c d7. So now it looks like his heavy pieces are in perfect places. Queen f2, and now knight e6. Again, he just doesn't have enough firepower to stop the white pawns from moving up the board. So now e5. Finally, Nigel makes his break, but it's not, it's too little, too late here. B takes e5, B takes e5, and d5. Again, mobility. Like I said, if those pawns can move, they're very dangerous. Knight d4, knight e4. Very, very powerful move. And the problem here is just this simple move, knight f6. Remember, black gave up his dark square bishop earlier after fianchettoing. So now notice both pawns are on prise, but he can take black can take neither one of them because he has to deal with this threat. He moves the queen, but now he has to give up in exchange. Knight f6 check, king g7, rook takes d7, rook takes c5. Now the knight is on prise. Knight e6, rook c1, and Nigel Short resigned. Very powerful move, very picturesque position at the end with those two hanging pawns standing side by side in black's territory on the 5th rank. Very strong game by Kasparov. I hope you enjoyed that game. Please donate to my channel in the links below. Please check the links also for DVDs/books related to this opening that we're discussing, which is the Queen's Gambit Decline Exchange Variation. What can we take from that game? Summarizing real quick is one that, of course, from the 1920s all the way up, till this game was played in 1993, obviously ideas had evolved. And when we saw white go for the traditional plan of just playing the B pawn, up the queen side and exchanging on c6, Nigel was ready for that. Okay. However, black had an alternative plan. White had an alternate plan up his sleeve, and he was able to play both sides of the board. So you saw Kasparov playing on the queen side, the king side, and then ultimately the plan of f3, e4, and moving the pawns up the center wind up prevailing. Another thing that we can take from this game too, I always say this: if your pawns are mobile, they're very dangerous. In the center, when you allow your opponent to have pawns in the center, that is not bad in and of itself. It depends on the quality of those pawns. If you can fix those pawns, stop them from moving, hey, they become liabilities and targets, and it's good for the for the player who does not own those pawns. However, if those pawns are mobile and dangerous and can drive the pieces away, like we saw in this game, and they're attacking units, RIP to the player who doesn't have those pawns. All right, so we saw the example where having the pawns in the center are good today. So with that, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe. And in the next video, we're gonna go over the third major plan in this Queen's Gambit Decline variation. And then after that, we might look at some games where we see black responses. So in other words, black responses to these same plans. All right, so hopefully these videos will help you have a greater understanding of the Queen's Gambit Decline Exchange Variation. All right, I'll see you guys on the next video.